if we can back that down to post-secondary and then, even to the K-12, then it's a win for everyone involved.
Yeah, absolutely. And right, the pushback that we hear on this from time to time is that we're not creating widgets, right? They're kids. I 100% get and believe that. Mm-hmm. I also understand that to be able to contribute to your community when you're an adult, it's going to require you having a job. There are very, very few people that are coming through this system that aren't going to need to be gainfully employed. And when you look at sort of Maslow's hierarchy, right, coming out, what we want to do is give them the opportunity to pursue their hopes and dreams and maximize their potential, but it's going to take getting a job in some way. And I think one of the things about durable skills is when we looked across every industry, every geography, regardless of your education attainment level, these skills are required to create momentum and success. And I often refer to durable skills as the second rung on the career ladder.
You are listening to the Global CTE Podcast with your host, Sylvester Chisom.
Welcome to another episode of the Global CTE Podcast. I am your host, Sylvester Chisom. This is the place where we like to wrap a blanket of goodwill around the career tech education community, and I highlight the best, the brightest, the movers, the shakers, and the innovators. Today is no different. We are seriously in for a treat. I have my good friend, Tim Taylor, the president of America Succeeds here. Now, let me tell you a little about Tim. Tim is the co-founder and president of America Succeeds, an organization committed to engaging business leaders in modernizing education systems to drive equity and opportunity. With a rich background in public policy, nonprofit leadership, and business engagement, Tim has worked extensively to bridge the gap between education and industry, promoting durable skills such as communication, leadership, and critical thinking. Tim is also a Pahara Aspen Education Fellow and was named one of Getting Smart's 60 people shaping the future of K-12 education. Tim, welcome to the podcast.
Sylvester, it's great to see you. I'm a huge fan of the podcast and have been hoping I'd get an invite. So I am really grateful and truly thrilled to be here.
No, this is exciting. I know this is going to be a great episode for our audience. And one big thing I want to say, man, is we were talking about this in the pre-show, but I really believe durable skills and America Succeeds comes up in 3 out of 4 episodes. So it really speaks to the game-changing innovation that you and your team are leading.
Well, I'm thrilled. I love that it is resonating, and mostly if kids are building and developing and able to demonstrate these skills, that's a win.
I love it. All right. Now, before we get too far in it, I want to know what's the origin story? How do you get here to be the president of America Succeeds?
I sometimes wonder that myself. My background, I started in Washington, D.C. I worked for a couple of members of Congress back in the day, back when there was a lot of bipartisanship working across the aisle. Really loved those days and the idea that policy was the art of compromise, and came out of that with the desire to make the world a better place than I found it, and started a nonprofit working with abused and neglected kids through the game of golf, and saw that there was an opportunity to impact even more kids than sort of a program that caught them when they were really in a bad position. And education systems was the place. And so about 20 years ago, started an organization called Colorado Succeeds, which worked with business leaders in Colorado, CEOs across the state, that earned and spent their political capital on education issues. And that evolved with a lot of hard work and good fortune and great partners into America Succeeds. And now we work at a national level on the same issues of really connecting and bridging that gap between what employers are looking for in the workforce and education systems to improve that talent pipeline for the mutual benefit of the companies that are out there and all of those young people who are trying to create economic mobility and be able to contribute to their local community.
That's interesting. I don't think I knew the golf nonprofit.
That was my first foray. I founded that organization. It's been a while now, but it was my first foray into working with young people and really trying to support and give them an opportunity. And it was before the first tee had made it west of the Mississippi. And so similarly to that, it wasn't so much about the golf skills. It was more about the honor, the etiquette, respect, the life skills, the durable skills that they were going to need. So it really laid the foundation for a lot of the work that I've done since.
That's what I was going to ask you. What insights did you take from that led to Colorado succeeds?
Yeah. So I think really what it was scale, right? We were working with these young people across the state, and we could work with a few hundred kids every summer. And we had the program had a tail, so that they had access to golf courses and adults, caring adults, which was really important. But boy, it was limited in sort of a direct service program. And I realized that, if we could impact more kids through education systems, right? If we could bolster the systems before these kids fell through the cracks and needed that type of care and support, we could get a lot more bang for our buck. So phenomenal time. I loved doing what I was doing. I've always loved doing what I wound up doing. It's part of being an entrepreneur, and I think there's a huge opportunity to make an impact in kids' lives.
Yeah, that's impressive. I'm curious, what were some of what successes from Colorado Succeeds that led to America Succeeds, right? So I'm curious how you go from one state to the country.
Yeah, I think one of the big things, so my co-founder is a gentleman named Zach Newmeyer, who was the founder of Sage Hospitality. It's a large hospitality company based here in Denver. And as a businessman, Zach also had two parents that were educators. So this was his passion and his love. And what he realized was that in most business organizations, education's the fourth thing on a list where three things get done. There's always the economy, or in West, there's water issues or transportations and so business cares deeply about education and the pipeline, but it isn't the reason anybody joins a chamber. And so it was his passion really to say, how would we bring business leaders together where they can put their finger on the scale on education issues? And as the end users of this talent pipeline, they care deeply about it. So it was allowing them to get engaged in a way that they could really make an impact. And that I've learned so much from what we did at Colorado Succeeds that I take with me every day as I'm doing this work for America Succeeds. So I love that those two things are the same side, are two sides of the same coin, right? If it's good for employers, it's good for young people. There's no daylight between those two things. They want to create opportunity and build their companies and create economic growth and economic mobility for young people. What they need is that talent pipeline to come in who was able to do that. And so it's been a really powerful and compelling way to engage in the education space.
I think you hit the nail on the head for me. I think that's something that gets lost sometimes, that education definitely has to help fulfill that need of what the job market, the current job market, and the future job market is in need of. And what are those? It's almost like working backwards. Well, the companies, what you're looking for, how new hires are coming in. Are they equipped with these skills? Or we would love if they had these skills. It would make everything so much easier. So it's like, if we can back that down to, post-secondary and then, even to the K-12, then it's a win for everyone involved.
Absolutely. And right, the pushback that we hear on this from time to time is that we're not creating widgets, right? They're kids. I 100% get and believe that. Mm-hmm. I also understand that to be able to contribute to your community when you're an adult, it's going to require you having a job. There are very, very few people that are coming through this system that aren't going to need to be gainfully employed. And when you look at sort of Maslow's hierarchy, right, coming out, what we want to do is give them the opportunity to pursue their hopes and dreams and maximize their potential, but it's going to take getting a job in some way. And I think one of the things about durable skills is when we looked across every industry, every geography, regardless of your education attainment level, these skills are required to create momentum and success. And I often refer to durable skills as the second rung on the career ladder. Employers are unlikely to train you up in these skills. Everybody's probably heard an employer who said, give me somebody who can think critically, collaborate, has a growth mindset, and we'll teach them what they need to know. And that's why I believe that durable skills are so powerful. They are the foundation for all of these other opportunities that you're going to put on that in front of kids and on top of the other skills they'll need.
Now, for anyone listening who's like, what are they talking about? Durable skills, can you break down? I think that study is so profound that your team organized. Can you share a little of the durable skills history and how we got to these skills?
Yeah, of course. And it's a good flag for talking about this all the time. Not everybody is familiar with the term. So we use the term durable skills to define what some people refer to as soft skills, 21st century skills, essential skills. There's a lot of words out there that talk about these skills. For our purposes, we define durable skills as how you use what you know, which is critical thinking, collaboration, communication, creativity, and then how you show up in the world, which is your leadership, your metacognition, your growth mindset. And those things combined represent durable skills. They last a lifetime. You take them with you from job to job, and they're durable because they're the same skills employers needed 20 years ago, and they're the same skills employers are going to need 20 years from now. We came up with the term durable skills because employers really don't love the term soft skills. They don't actually value, they don't actually align with the value of how important these skills are. And so you mentioned our study. So what we did is we partnered with MC Burning Glass, now called Lightcast, and we looked at 80 million job descriptions. We did this coming out of the pandemic. We've also rerun the report with 88 million because of the number of jobs that have been created. But we looked at this, and what we found was originally that 7 of the top 10 most in-demand jobs across all industries are these durable skills, and that it actually goes on to show even a little more deeply is that high skill, high wage jobs and mid-skill, mid-wage jobs need more durable skills than low skill, low wage jobs. So what we're trying to create for young people, the opportunities we're trying to create require these skills. And what's fascinating is when we reran the numbers for 2022 and 2023, we actually found that it became 8 of the top 10 most in-demand skills. And what's interesting is with the advent of AI, these skills are more, not less in demand because they're the things the machines can't do. And right, there's only, the best guess is that will only become increasingly more important in the future.
Thank you for sharing it. And you said something that I found super profound when I heard you say it the first time. We were in Indianapolis and we were speaking at the career education colleges and universities, their national convention on the panel together. And while you were speaking, you shared that McKinsey Global Institute. You just referenced it there again, and how the middle to higher wage careers and jobs, you're spending over 50% of your time using those durable skills versus the more physical or manual, maybe lower wage jobs or careers. They're not doing that. For me, I found that to be so profound. And just if you didn't understand how important this is, and the sooner we can start teaching and getting our students involved in experiences where they're activating these skills, I think the better off our entire country will be.
Yeah, 100%. McKinsey study came out not long after we did a lot of our research, and we have jumped all over that. It is 64% of, if you look at the 5 wage quintiles, the 2 highest wage quintiles, broken down by the percentage of your day that you use these skills, durable skills, it's about 64% of your day in the highest 2 quintiles. And so to your point, low skill, low wage jobs, you look at those job descriptions, the 2 most requested skills for low wage jobs are the ability to lift a 40-pound box and a valid driver's license. If we're really going to shift and get young people into these economically mobile jobs, they've got to have those high order thinking skills, those durable skills that employers are asking for the top 2 wage quintiles.
Yeah, when you shared that with me, I shared it with our Show Me the World team. I was like, oh my God, you have to look at this. These are the skills, and this speaks directly to economic upward mobility for maybe audiences, but it definitely speaks to the equity piece of education. And that's something that there's an opportunity to how do you lift up these skills, communication, collaboration, critical thinking? How do you lift those up? So with that said, I'm curious, any examples that you want to highlight that you're seeing around the country, best practices who are doing some good work?
Yeah. So the delivery and the development of these skills in schools is so critical. Kids from more affluent homes have an opportunity to practice these skills, usually through sports or music or church or world travel or dinner table conversation or things like that. But if you're not getting these skills at home and they're not part of a classroom experience, which they have not been traditionally, then where do kids get exposure to these skills and how do they develop these skills? And that's been the equity issue for us, is how do you embed these skills in everybody's education experience, K through higher ed, even into the workforce, right? We never stop developing these skills. And what we have found, which was interesting, is years ago, as we started talking about durable skills and asking school systems to embed these in a student's experience, they said, well, there's not enough time in the day to add a critical thinking course. We're asked to do so much, and teachers are asked to do a lot. I totally appreciate and what teachers do is extraordinary. It is a special person who goes into the classroom. But we're so steeped in the box of a Carnegie unit that education systems think that you can't learn something unless it is defined by an 11 to 11:50 class. And that was their first response. But of course, you don't think critically from 11 to 11:50 and then go to math. You should be thinking critically while you're in math. You should be collaborating while you're in science. You should have a growth mindset when you're learning history. And the idea is not asking teachers to do more, but asking them to do it differently in the classroom. So it develops these skills, and you can't separate the curriculum, the content that they're getting in math and science and English with practicing these skills. And that's when we're really going to be onto something, and where a lot of our work is focused on. How do you embed these? How do systems begin to change? And what does it look like with good teaching, good learning, good demonstration of these skills, and signals to the employers on the back end that you have these skills so you can get those good jobs?
Yeah, 100%. And I like how you shared that it's limiting to think of it as, we need a critical thinking class. And this is the only box said durable skill could be taught in, instead of maybe thinking of it from an interdisciplinary approach. But even the other extracurricular approaches, or that you just mentioned, like I think leadership and sports, or critical thinking and cooking dinner at home with your parents, like those, different things like that. I want to ask you something. I wasn't thinking about this, but you said it. Durable skills at home. How can we work for the parents that are listening? Like, what do you think about that? Like, how can we practice or be more intentional about practicing durable skills at home with our own children?
Yeah. So the first thing I think is recognizing what these skills are, and then thinking about how to make them part of a day. We've been asked a couple of times about some things at home, and I think that's really interesting. I think we need to dig back into that and come up with maybe some home learning opportunities. I'm going to pivot just a bit from your question, because my best example of this was a math teacher. It was actually a geometry teacher who, you could see the light bulb go off that what these skills were. And she said, so while I'm teaching geometry, what I can do is ask the kids to get in groups of 3, solve some problems using different problem solving techniques by working together. Then what they can do is go to the front of the class and present back to the class how they solve these problems. And she said, so while I'm teaching math, I'm having them collaborate and think critically. And then I'm asking them to use verbal communication skills. And then I'm asking them to practice their presentation skills. There's 5 durable skills wrapped up in that math lesson, and they're still learning geometry. When you start to sort of embed all of those things, so I can imagine there's a lot of things around the house. You mentioned cooking dinner and critical thinking, right? We don't have this ingredient. What fills in for this ingredient? Let's think through this process. We don't have that bowl that they asked for. How are we going to make this dish with that bowl? I don't know. I mean, you could probably repair a car using a YouTube video and have to solve some. I mean, I think that these skills should just be practiced all the time. And we also need to name them. That when you're collaborating with somebody, I asked my kids about, collaboration back when they were in middle school. And I said, are you doing any collaboration work? And they said, you mean group work? And I said, well, yeah, that's when you work in a team. And they said, well, what I learned was that Billy was not pulling his weight. I mean, and the teacher wasn't calling it collaboration, for one, or describing all of the things that you do when you collaborate, or a process of collaboration, right? Collaboration is, first, you decide roles and responsibilities. Second is how you handle conflict. Third is who's going to have which deliverables. Like if you ask a kid, when was the last time you collaborated and what did it look like? And they tell you, my science project when I did all those things, that kid can collaborate anywhere you put them. Yeah. And that's the kind of stuff that I think that, can be practiced at home or in school or anywhere else. And kids really get this and understand the value of those types of things. When did you demonstrate leadership? When did you have a growth mindset?
So I'm hearing a lot of self-reporting from from the individual student person. I'm curious about something. I want your feedback on it because you just said it. In our organization with the Show Me the World project, when our students are going to the farmers markets, we're intentional about working on the durable skills, right? Like they're going to sell coffee today, communication, collaboration. We try to call out the skill first so they know, here's an example, here is critical thinking, and here's an example of it. Like, I'm curious your thoughts on how important is that so that a person knows they're being mindful or this is metacognition, or creativity per se. Talk to me about that.
I think it's absolutely critical, right? To be able to advocate that you have these skills. So when you ultimately get a job description and it says we're looking for these 3 durable skills, you recognize what those words are. And you have, I think early days will be a portfolio, or you can demonstrate it in an interview, or you can talk about it. My kids have a durable skills section on the resume, right? They're college kids. And when they apply to jobs, there's a durable skills section. I think that this is the way that it's headed, because to get hired for anything, any job, anywhere, it is a combination of your technical skills and your durable skills. So let's show those and be able to make sure that kids can advocate on their own that they have these and say, here are the examples, or here's something that a former employer, here's what my boss said about me about this skill, or different types of examples. And ultimately, the holy grail for this is that there are some type of ways that we can validate this and use very quick signals for employers. Down the road, we want to be able to sort of showcase things like this. And we think of them more as strength finders. Nobody's great at all the durable skills. But which ones are you good at, and what does that line up with? If you're at the front desk of a hotel, they deeply value critical thinking and problem solving, that you can help a guest on the spot. Those two things will be, well, where should I go if I'm really good at critical thinking or problem solving? Depends on what point you are in your career and all these other things. But like, those skills line up with different career trajectories. And so that's where kids become more self-aware and can advocate for themselves and put themselves on a trajectory. And I will put a huge plug out for CTE programs, and probably a lot of your audience. They do some of the best jobs around the country of embedding these into programs. And what we need to make sure is it's not just in CTE programs, but it's happening in math and science and English, because there's not every kid's going to get the joy and an opportunity to be in a CTE program.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. I have a follow-up question to what you just said. Besides the student saying, okay, yes, I practiced said skill in this experience, any other thoughts around assessment, or, for an educator who may be tracking this in their classroom or in their math class or CTE class? Any ideas around assessment or verification that someone has engaged or practiced a particular durable skill? Yeah,
there's some good, there's the beginnings of some good stuff out there. We've seen some great pre and post surveys, like, what do you know about these skills, or can you define these skills? And then the teacher will work on that for a semester and ask those same questions again and see some real growth. There are opportunities for the person, as I mentioned, for the self-advocacies as they begin to understand this more. 360 evaluations from their peers. How did your peer do among these types of things? And then the teacher observation, right? That's, again, more portfolio and not easy to signal to an employer, right? If an employer looks at a resume for 6 seconds or whatever the average is, that's hard to convey unless you're putting it as a line item on your resume. But then you can describe those things on the back end. So what's coming is a little bit more formal assessment, again, sort of these strength finders type things. And we're in the early days. Our deal is, first, let's start embedding them in everything the kid does. And let's not worry so much about assessment right now. All of the parents and all of the folks who are teaching this to their kids aren't worried about assessment. They're making sure that the kids have the skills. As this matures, there will be more opportunities for these. Version 1.0 of an assessment's not going to be great. Version 5.0, you may have a bunch of employers just saying, I'll take that, validation or whatever that looks like, because you were able to put that on your resume or signal to them in some way. That's coming, but let's make sure kids are learning this stuff first. And there's not nearly enough of that. There are pockets, but this is not scale. This is not to scale yet.
Well, I want to bring up something that I know has just moved around the country like so fast. I keep hearing about it, seeing it on YouTube or, educators talking about it, the Durable Skills Framework. You want to talk a little about what that is and the plan, the vision behind that?
Yeah, of course. Thank you. So we partnered with over 800 employers to develop a framework, and the framework is made up of two pieces primarily. The first is a rubric. What do all of these terms mean? Let's stop arguing about what you mean by critical thinking versus what I mean by critical thinking. And these definitions come from employers. So no slight at all against educators, but let's use the terminology that we're using on the back end of this instead of the academic sort of descriptions or definitions, right? So this is informed by over 800 business leaders. And then what we did is we created a rubric across all of the terms that are in our Durable Skills wheel. I hope we can put a link or something. Folks can go to our durableskills.org website and see this wheel. That's made up of what employers are asking for. Those terms came directly from job descriptions. And so we now have a rubric around those terms of what a young person is expected to know or do. And we built this rubric for 22 to 24-year-olds, right? You have to pick a spot in time because you grow over the entire course of your lifetime with these skills. 22 to 24 represents somebody who has come out of high school. Maybe they have some certificates and some real world experience. Maybe they were in the military. Maybe they went to a 4-year. Whatever your path was to get to 22 to 24 and in the world of work, this is what they expect you to do, regardless of how you got there. And they were really clear about that. And so now what we can do is we can actually work on assessments or building curriculum or embedding this into existing curriculum to know where we want somebody to ultimately get to. And that's become a really powerful component of this. And the framework is available. We have a starter edition that is available to all schools, to anybody who wants it free of charge. And so they can go get that rubric through the starter edition.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, I encourage everyone to take a look at it. It'll be in the show notes, so you can definitely take a look at it and go straight to it. I think it's supremely helpful. And I remember being on those panels, going back and forth with those rubrics, and going word for word, the detail and the time and intentionality to make it something that's useful, for all stakeholders is, kudos to you and the team for moving that forward. I know I don't know if you're ready to share it yet, but I know there's more behind this Durable Skills framework. Like, I don't know if you want to announce it or share a little about what's coming next.
Yep, brand new. Thrilled to share with your viewers. We have just recently branded and trademarked the term PathSmith. A PathSmith is somebody who creates and forges a durable pathway using durable skills. And what we are doing with the PathSmith framework and ultimately the seal. So we are working towards a good housekeeping seal. So if you think about how somebody might get a B Corp certification or a LEED certification for a building, we are working on identifying high quality content so that it can scale. And the PathSmith Seal is the first thing that we have come up with so that we can identify and distinguish between really high quality content that's aligned with the types of employer driven descriptions, definitions, rubrics, things like that, versus some things that might be on the market that are not as high quality. And so we're really excited about where this is headed. It is early days, but stay tuned. We hope you start seeing the PathSmith brand all over the place and understand and make and can share that it is synonymous with really high quality, durable skills content that is preparing young people for their future. So yeah, we couldn't be any more excited about it, and keep an eye out. Big brand announcement launch soon to come.
That's big, Tim. That's big. The education marketplace will appreciate that clarity and intentionality behind that. So yes, looking forward to hearing more about PathSmith. Now, I want to shift to something. This was a conversation of Michelle from Indiana Department of Education when we were all together. We were talking about these durable skills. It's a lifelong journey that we're all still working on all of these skills. So there is no true endpoint, right? Definitely a beginning to start receiving foundational knowledge. But I'm curious, what would you say is your your number one durable skill that I thrive in this one? I'm curious what you'll say on that.
Yeah, that's fun. And nobody's ever asked me that. I would say for me, it's problem solving. I love showing up at work, not necessarily knowing what's coming my way. As an entrepreneur, having founded 3 nonprofit organizations, that feeling of sort of not being entirely qualified to do the things that I'm doing, but having to solve and work through those problems, I thrive on those opportunities and really enjoy that. And there are so many examples of sort of this space and developing a durable skills framework. This has never existed before. But recognizing that there's a huge opportunity, and as employers are asking for technical skills in some case, and the half-life of those technical skills are getting shorter and shorter, right? I mean, you learn a coding language, and that coding language is not going to be relevant in the next 5 years. Your durable skills are going to be relevant for the rest of your life. And I'm sure every one of your listeners has had some experience where they've moved from one job to the next and they didn't take the technical skills with them, but they took every one of their durable skills with them. And that became just such a passion of ours. And the ability to solve the problem of like, what is missing in the system? How do we get it into the system? And then what is next and what is needed? And so these things like, well, there's not a great assessment. That doesn't mean you don't do it. That just means you got to work through that problem as you're working through all of the others. We know that this is good for every single kid out there. This is not well, some kids need this and some kids don't. This is every kid out there needs to develop these skills. They are foundational. And I don't want to take anything away from the reading, writing, arithmetic. Those are table stakes. Those should happen in schools every day. We need to be doing a better job of delivering those skills. But then when you pair them with these durable skills, that's what really creates sort of the jet fuel that's going to power these kids' journey.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to move to my last question on that one. All right. This is something I ask all of my guests. So I'm curious what you're going to say. What is your vision for the future of career tech education?
Yeah, I think career tech education is really on a great trajectory. I'm so pleased with the opportunities that young people have, with the opportunities to explore pathways, with the idea that this is not the shop class or auto tech that was in my era, that was for other kids. Yeah. I love that my kids both had CTE programs while they were in high school, who are now in 4-year universities. Like, this is an opportunity to explore pathways. This is an opportunity to develop skills that you can practice, and you may use them forever, and you may just use them for now. Mm-hmm. And either way, I think that the opportunity to practice these skills and to embed durable skills in there is so extraordinarily powerful. The idea of what you want to be when you grow up, you can't see it. You can't be it unless you see it. And so, how do these kids get some exposure to these career pathways, these opportunities? And what they may be learning is that's not for me, and that's really valuable as well. So my vision for the future is that they get even tighter with the durable skills and the technical skills, and that whatever those skills are that they develop, they continue to sort of build opportunity and open the next door. It may be of interest when they sign up for the course, and it may be that they're looking for a different door to get out of it halfway, but that's great. It's just going to open another door as they go down that pipeline. I see a really bright future, and I really believe that every kid ought to have an opportunity to experience high quality CTE.
Thank you. There it is, Tim. I know people are going to want to know where should they go if they want to learn more about the work America Succeeds is you guys are leading, or if they want to connect with you, where should they go?
Yeah, so our website, americasucceeds.org, has got links to our entire team, including me. There's a link to my email if anybody wants to get in touch with me directly. I try to answer all of those emails personally. We have a durableskills.org site, and PathSmith.org is coming soon. So check it out and learn more about the work we're doing there. So this is a really amazing opportunity to visit with you. I'm thrilled to now consider myself in the club of the Sylvester Chisom podcast. So thank you for the invitation.
Oh no, this is a joy. Thank you for taking the time and sharing so many gems and for breaking that innovative news about PathSmith coming down the pipeline. Listen, if you enjoyed this episode, which I know you did, please don't be selfish. Share it with a friend or a colleague. There was a lot of great information shared here that will help our students prepare for success in the future. And until the next episode, remember, you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Global CTE podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to be the first to know about future episodes.